boys and girls, we are back once again. The fabulousness, the greatness, the splash in the building. Queen Euphoria, how are you doing today, madam?
I'm doing quite lovely, and yourself?
I'm great. I cannot complain at all. I'm
Awesome.
super excited after you sent me on this deep dive. I was going to be mad at you. I said, if this girl leave me hanging after I done did all of this digging around to find all of this greatness. Look, this is great black historical film.
Of course.
Great.
I would
This is
never leave you hanging. Never.
I appreciate that. This was a historical deep dive for the ages. I just want everybody to know. Last week's show we did Sex and Psychos, and my wonderful co-host and producer, Queen Euphoria, was like, "Yo, we should talk about." You know what I mean? So some Blaxploitations from the 70s. It's interesting you picked the 70s because it's so rich. Oh my god! Like I'll be honest with you, I thought that I honestly thought that I was an expert in this field,
Mm,
but after doing some research, I realized how much I didn't know and how many great films that were out here that I overlooked and even and I hope people take something away from this because there's so much in the hip hop community that takes from black exploitations
yes. Yes.
crazy. Like
Yes.
the I was digging, the more I'm like, oh, okay, that come to I get it now. I get it. So I'm allowed to boss queen the intro in just a second, but I just wanted to show y'all the tapestry of greatness of just a few of these films, and then like some of them are not black exploitations, a lot of them are. There's just so much here to talk about, so take it away, queen. I'm gonna shut up and let you get your intro going because I'm excited. This is phenomenal. This is
Well,
great.
this was a era that we kind of skip around. So when I thought of black, how do you say it?
Black exploitations,
Black
black exploitation.
exploitation
Right,
movies. When you look at them and you look at the history, and a lot of them are being remade now.
right.
So that's one of the reasons why I like to go back and look at the original and
Mm-hmm.
kind of do a comparison of the two and see
All
if
right,
they missed the mark or not.
all right.
So, you
I'm listening.
know, when I'm looking at, let's say, for instance, this one that we're going to discuss tonight, which is Superfly, and you compare it to the most recent version that came out, what, maybe 3 or 4 years ago,
Yep.
um, and just do a comparison on did they miss the mark or did they really get it like it was supposed to be done. So I'm not gonna go into the comparison right now, but that was one of the movies that I thought was a great one for the first one to do because we can look at how they did things back then in the 70s and how it relates to the movie that was done most recently. Um, Not just that, but also looking at some of these other movies for the history and the culture. Because I think sometimes we're missing our history when it comes to the new generation. And if they go back and look at some of these movies, they might close some of the gaps. You know what I'm saying? Because I really see where these movies taught a lot of how we felt back then, how things were going on in society back then, and related to today. Because
Mm-hmm.
history will repeat itself. And if
Mm-hmm.
you look at
Mm-hmm.
it, it kind of be like, wow, okay, yeah, so they went through that. And a lot of them do, deal with the whole drug scene that was going on back then, which, is different now with different types of drugs. But the just the origin, and just to be able to look at how it all started, how black people finally got on the scene, and they were no longer the mammies or the maids or playing these slave roles. Now they have starring roles, doing things, expressing themselves that they wanted to, how they wanted to do it. And this was really the era where a lot of these actors came out successfully.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And adding on to that, this was definitely a renaissance in the evolution of black entertainment. Us having our own ability to tell our own stories our way. That's huge. Film became attainable to black creatives. So there wasn't one film every decade or one film every 3 or 4 years. There might have been 10 or 15 films that came out that year. And then they had these independent black owned theaters around the country where these films could be shown so people could make money. So like, and if anybody wants to get more detail into that, my name is Dolomite on Netflix speaks to that. The Eddie Murphy film where he plays he plays the man that right, Rudy Ray Moore, and he talks about going independent, putting his films out and making millions of dollars, and then subsequently making series of films over that decade, and just putting people in it, and like you said, creating stars where there were none before. Black people being able to have that access to not necessarily being movie megastars and box office, all right, well, we break box office records, but you could become in the black community a star. Right. Somebody could go and see it and see you. And for young people, this is a time before social media. This is a time before smartphones. This is a time, a lot of times, before a lot of people got their hands on color TVs. I keep trying to tell people.
Even color TVs, right.
It was when I was a kid, black and white televisions were the majority, and color TVs were the new wave. Kind of like, if you could get your hands on, and we ain't talking about 50-inch screens. We talking about little 12 and 24-inch screens was considered to be like, oh my God, if you had a 32 or something like that, you was rich. You know what I'm saying?
And don't let it have a remote control. You really done did it. It's like, wow, you ain't got a flip thing on.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. Oh, you was lit, boy. If you had that floor model, what I'm saying, with that oak, what I mean, and that clicker. Yeah. Oh, yeah, baby. It was on a different level. You were successful. That was the definition of success. You walk into somebody's house and they got the floor model.
Floor model.
Good. Oh, y'all doing good up here. Y'all got good china in the cabinet. You know what I mean? So I want to throw this back on the screen. I mean, like this was the first thing when I first do my first search on Google, and I'm like, all right, let me pull up some films. Let me get familiar with what I think. All right, so I know about my small grouping of films. So there is Cleopatra Jones, there's Superfly, there's The Mac, there's Dolomite, and then I would say also I can't front and say Shaft. To me, those were the guys. Like when you told me, all right, well, we're going to talk about Blaxploitations, that's what I'm thinking of. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't know about, Blackula. Yeah.
No.
I didn't know. I was a kid. I wasn't even born. Like when I remember, all of these movies came out before I was born.
Right, right.
After I was out, and you know what I mean. So I can understand. However, even in my dredging backwards into films and learning about the Foxy Browns and the Kofis and stuff like that, which I can say I did know about them. I had no clue about the Blackula, Detroit 9000, and then hold on, I got my whole list. There's such a list. Ebony, Ivory, and Jade. What the hell? Bucktown. Never knew nothing about that. Get Christy Love, Sheba Baby, Trouble Man. You know what I mean? I'm about to pull up some of these images in a second. With these creative posters, you know what I mean? That's Superfly, obviously. That's the super hot Pam Grier. You know what I'm saying? Obviously with makeup on her boobies. You know what I mean? You got her, she looking great, got the little shotgun in her hand, you know, she killing it. You know what I mean? But like, yo, there's so many great films. So what is your top 5 standouts from film history for you?
The top standouts, I would say, for these type of movies, um, the creativity. I also love the wardrobe.
Yeah,
The
definitely over the top.
wardrobe was probably number one for me. Um, Also the actual storyline. The storylines, it wasn't like no BS type storylines. You know what I'm saying? Some of them, I mean, when you look at Dolomite, yeah, he got some craziness going on, but the storylines, you know, it kept you going, and it was just like, oh, okay, all right, let's see what else gonna happen next. You know, it kind of kept you on your toes, I would say.
So
So
what do you have a top 5 favorite films like what are your top 5 favorite blaxploitation films?
my top five is Foxy Brown.
Okay.
I think you had that one up. You mentioned that one.
Mhm.
Um, Superfly, definitely.
Most definitely.
Um, as Coffee, because I love Pam Grier. I
Mhm.
mean, she was just awesome with. She was like the black superhero to me back then. That was like the Wonder Woman. You know, she was always into something, doing something, and she had so many. It was like once she did Foxy Brown, it just sparked, and she just kept on doing these kind of roles where she was like the main person with the gun, the woman with the gun. You know what I'm saying? I love that. Um, I would say another one would be Dolomite,
Mm.
just because of the acting that he did. I found Dolomite to be very. I don't know if you ever watched a Dolomite movie, the original, but
Yes.
he will have multiple sexual scenes, and to
Over the
find
top.
out that he was gay, I was like, this man has some acting skills because I thought he was getting it in. I mean, he would have 4, 5 women all up in the bed.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And
I feel like
then,
that's the genius of knowing your audience. You know what I mean? Just
right,
knowing who you dealing with and knowing that like, you know, black dudes ain't about to watch no movie, you know,
he
unless it's
knew the
got
era and he knew
yeah.
it wasn't going to be accepted. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And to flip it, and you just not having a love scene, but you having like multiple women all laid up, and y'all just, you know, you was like the pimp daddy of the pimp daddies.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? And to look at that, and then like I had no clue that this man
This is
was.
something new to me. I was I to this day, where did you find out that he
It's
was
a
where
documentary.
was this?
You gotta look at the documentary.
Really?
Yeah,
All right, all right.
it's,
I'm definitely
it's
about
a
to check.
documentary, and they go back to the people that was around him.
Mm.
And they was talking about how, you know, it was just a time that you don't, you know, you didn't tell it.
Right.
You didn't tell it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it was a hidden secret for a long time. You know, so to be portrayed as one way and you looked up as like a womanizer almost, but then to kind of find out that really wasn't your real life in the first
That wasn't you at all.
place at all. Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah, that
That's
that was crazy to me. But I would say another one. It wasn't necessarily a black exploitation type film, but Coolie High was another one that I
mm,
always liked. That was
got it.
like a classic, another classic from back then. So those are my five.
All right, all right. I would definitely I think I ran down most of my top 5 lists And I just wanted to try to pull up something so that you guys could get a better look at it. That's the original Dolomite, one of the original covers. I think the original cover is actually white, and this is kind of like a remake of it or whatever. Yeah, my top 5 films, and then I'm going to get into more of the history side of it. It definitely runs as follows. I'm definitely in love with the Mac. I'm definitely in love with Superfly. I'm definitely in love with Foxy Brown. I'm huge. I ain't gonna lie. I'm a huge Pam Grier fan. So like, you know what I'm saying? I definitely love Kofi, and I love the original Dolomite, and I actually have it on DVD around here somewhere. And I actually had like 2 or 3 Dolomite joints. I just haven't gotten to the second and third one, but that first one was a must for me, and I had such a good time. I ain't gonna lie. I laughed because it was over the top. You know what I mean? It was so much going on. You can see that this guy's actively throwing stuff at the screen, and seeing the seeing the Netflix, you know, My Name is Dolomite, was so educational for me, and it helped me understand why certain things were the way they are, like why certain scenes cut so rough, you know, why the story seemed to be a little truncated in certain areas. And it's just like, oh, this guy didn't really have no budget. He literally was running and gunning, you know, and the term running and gun means that, hey, you got a camera, y'all just trying to hurry up and shoot something. You ain't got no permit, you know, you just trying to get in, knock it out, get up out of the way and do something else. So like, I love that, you know what I mean? And the more, I think watching that Netflix film with Eddie Murphy put a whole different perspective on watching the Dolomite film, you know what I mean? And that's one of the reasons why I threw that at you. I was like, yo, should we watch Superfly, the original, and then Superfly, the new one, and kind of seeing what the differences are? But when I'm telling you, man, like, first of all, I would say the number one thing to explain to you guys, if you're watching this stream right now, there are literally 6 times 10 movies that are Blaxploitations on YouTube. The full films are available right now on YouTube, and I'm going to put them in the caption below. There is a link, and there's actually like the whole lineup of them are like in a playlist where you can just go through and watch whatever movies. And a matter of fact, I'll just pull it up for us right now while we're sitting here. And I mean, great titles from all over the diaspora of black film. All right, so here we go. Let me put this on the screen. Oh my goodness. So you got Young Blood, 1978. You got Roll of Thunder, Hear Me Cry. You Scream, Blackula Scream. Cornbread Earl and Me. All right. You got Simple Justice. You got Willie Dynamite. You got Together Brothers. You got TNT Jackson. You got Cornbread and Me Again, 1974. Inspirational Family. You've got Hollow Image. You've got The Hitter. All right. You got Black Girl. All right. You've got As Summer Dies. You got The Legend of Earl the Goat. Magnificent. So, like, you've got so many. You got, I don't know where Uptown Saturday Night came from, but you got that. And then you got Grandmama's House. I don't even know what that is. Well, that's when it starts going off the rails a little bit. Johnny Tough. Hallelujah. Just an Old Sweet Song. What in the world? Bojangles. What is Bojangles from 2001? All right. So now, okay. So
it's, I think that's a tap dancing.
Right. You got Classified X. I don't know what that is. Raisin in the Sun. Halls of Anger. That's 1969. All right. The Greatest Thing That Almost Happened. 1978. Green Eyes. The Well. Cindy. Uptight. All right, so like there's just it's all over the place, but it's definitely if you want to give if you want to give Blaxploitations a chance and you want to just touch into something different, this is definitely an opportunity to do so. Let me stop this. I don't know what in the world. So this brings me to my next subject, and I'm gonna get this off the screen. This is something I find to be super sad. This is the next chapter, and then we're going to get into the review. As I'm doing my research, I'm seeing all of these films. They're not on streaming. I can't rent them. I can't buy them on streaming, which puts into question the ownership of these films. Who owns these Blaxploitation films? Are they owned by the Black creators?
Who were you not able to get on streaming?
The Mac is not available on Google Play. It's actually no, it's not available on Amazon either. They have the picture of it up there, but you can't stream it and you can't rent it. Meaning that I can't buy it, I can't rent it at all. Not on Play. Now it might be on. It might be on Apple, but I don't have Apple, so I don't know what Apple streaming platform does. But I do have Amazon and I do have Google Play, and I researched it for both because the Mac is one of my favorites. Superfly is available.
Right.
The original Dolomite is available, but its sequels are not available. There are a ton of other ones like the Blackula, original Blackula is there. There are a bunch of other ones that aren't. And then once you get down to the lesser known titles, the this and that and the third, and that's the reason why they're able to be on YouTube. The whole film is up there is because nobody's making sure that right, that they're being taken care of, and also that means that a lot of them are not on streaming. When you have platforms such as, Oprah Winfrey has, I don't know if she has a streaming app, but you've got, BET Plus, which is not Black owned, but it's a Black streaming platform that's supposed to celebrate Black cinema. Why are we not celebrating Black cinema from the 70s? Why are we not, taking care of and cultivating these older Black films? I'm not putting it on no white person to do that. Why aren't we? Why hasn't Diddy gone out and been like, hey, bro, find out who own all of these and look, tell them I give them 50 grand a piece for each, just turn them over and then I'll put out, the Bad Boy streaming app or something. Or, why isn't Tyler Perry launching his own thing? Why aren't we as black people taking care of our films and our creations the same way other cultures do? Because I guarantee you they ain't gonna let Godfather. How many times remade Godfather? Like, and there's so many older films that are great, what I mean? And I'm not trying to attack those films, but what I'm saying is there's a discernible difference between how other cultures take care of their classic films and how they keep them and reintroduce them to new generations, how they keep it and they say, hey, this is a part of our history. And then as usual, in the Black community, it's like, oh, all right, that's done. Oh, that's for old heads. That's an old movie for old people. We don't care about it. The same way we just kind of dumped off all of the older television shows from the 80s and 90s that was just super dope. And they're like, we cherry pick what we think people are gonna love. All right, well, we'll keep Martin and we'll keep this, but we gonna trash the rest instead of us finding ways to keep our own content alive. Like, I was so surprised that there was so much of it. And then I'm even more frustrated because I want to support. Now I was like, man, I'm about to sit here and buy one a week and then I'm gonna watch it. But now I'm like, I can't even buy it. The only way I can, I'm not saying that I have a problem with getting it for free off of YouTube, but as the person that invests into film the way I do, I want to be able to purchase Black films and support and be like, I bought it and I own it and it's a part of my collection. Hey, this is my Blaxploitation collection. I got this. So, like, I'm not trying to lecture people, but I just want us to be like aware of, like, man, look at something that people of our culture, blood, sweat, and tears invested in. Probably a lot of them didn't make nothing off of it. They didn't get rich. They not driving around in Rolls Royces where you can look at some of these white creators and they will go like they'll make one, or they'll do something like Rounders. And I know a lot of you Black people are like, who is Rounders? Go search it. It's a D-rated film, but it's like a cult classic. The same way of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas or The Big Lebowski. These movies ain't all that good, but it encompasses white culture and these weird artistic themes, and these white people will never let those films die.
Right.
they will come out in troves. The same way as what was that? It was the there's like this film with this white guy that cross dresses as a woman with the Ricky Horror Picture Show, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like they got stage plays based off of it. Well, how many of our rappers have made albums off of the Trouble Man or Mimic the Mac or Superfly? Why don't we have a Superfly stage play? Why isn't there the Mac stage play? You know, reintroduced in modern themes, addressing issues from the past and updating it for the present. Like, why aren't we doing that? You know, and
Well, I
I
know Denzel was one of the persons that was trying to do that. Like
okay.
he's taking a lot of old and bringing it to either Broadway or to movies. That's how the Raisin in the Sun came about. And then when he did Fences, and then he said he was going to do some others because I believe the creator that was known for doing a lot of these plays recently passed away. So he had posted that he was going to be the one to take it over and try to bring more to either Broadway or movies. So that's the one person that I can say he tries to work towards either making it available or bringing it back out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Denzel is probably the only person that I've heard that's willing to take that extra step because I guess he's at that stage right now. He's at that level right now. We can do that, and people will kind of listen to him. They'll. He has credibility, more or less.
Right.
So.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah.
Man, like I'm really hoping that our power players in Hollywood will continue to take the time to memorialize our creations, hold them up, find proper homes for them.
Right.
And at this point, I'm surprised there isn't a Blaxploitation museum or like Blaxploitation something where hopefully the originals from the original cuts, the reels and all of that could be put away, maybe finding costumes from those time periods, maybe original posters and wigs and different things like that. I think that
would be dope.
Such a phenomenal thing. And then to go through and celebrate people like Pam Grier. Is she still alive or has she passed?
I think she's still alive.
I feel like she needs to be celebrated. You know what I mean? Those type of things that I think are super important.
Mm-hmm. Now I do see like on Bounce TV, they play a lot of Blaxploitations. That's one channel that plays a lot, and then they have another one called Brown Sugar.
Wait a minute, that's a television station named Brown Sugar?
Yeah, it's through Prime. Brown Sugar. Wow. Yeah, it's through Prime, and that's where I was able to get a lot of the old movies from there. Where I got Superfly, and they have the other one called Black Shampoo. They got a lot of old ones on there. So they it's more or less like a black channel.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a lot of, is this another Superfly? Looks like they did it again. The Return of Superfly. Okay. The Return of Superfly came out in 1990. So that's another one. That's on Brown Sugar. So yeah, they kind of, they play a lot of independent and old movies on that channel.
Gotcha. Everybody, if you're looking on the screen, this is Sheba Baby. This is clips from that film. I mean, just look at the like I feel like we don't give ourselves credit for the creativity, man. These guys weren't given no $20 million budgets, but just look at the usage of how they frame the shots. Obviously, the camera's a little crooked, but it actually plays into the scene. You know what I mean? Like the haircuts and the fashion. I mean, this is just a different time period, man. Like, they got these guys piled up in this little car. But I love this, like to look at the aesthetic of it, the usage of lighting, You know what I mean? Like it is just so cool, and I'm quite sure that traffic is real traffic. I'm quite sure they didn't,
Right.
stop the streets to do something completely different. They just set it up, let people do their thing. But man, if you are, a younger person right now, I know it's kind of hard to keep younger people watching this type of stuff because I guess we some old fogies. But like, man, I tell people all of the time, if you really wanna, if you're a filmmaker, this is what you should be watching. If you're a filmmaker, you don't have no money, like nothing shows you how to stretch a dollar or how to make something look cinematic with no money. Like looking at these old films, like how they set these shots up. You know what I mean? Like how they put these, how they pick the scenes. Because none of this stuff is high class. This isn't like, I mean, and I'm not trying to dog the film. I'm just actually trying to applaud it for its creativity and how much they taken thought to making something interesting to keep you locked in, to keep you having fun, showing you and creating these, I'm not going to say over the top characters, but if you watch Blaxploitations, every character represents somebody that you know. You might got the wise cracking character, you've got the you've got the conscious one, you've got the streetwise person, and then you've got your goons, you know what I mean, which we're looking at on the screen right now. It's just some guys just running up in the building, beating up on stuff, and it's just like, why are you taking a chair and banging at the wall? Like I don't get that.
Right.
This is fun movie. Oh, look, oh God, man, dang, old boy is kicking butt out here.
I was looking for the pow bang to come up on the screen,
Let's see if we catch a little dialogue. Oh man, this is before pow pow. Did he rip his pants or what's going on? Oh man,
they kind of split, didn't it?
And that
music. The music in the soundtrack. That's what And a lot of times back then, these movies were known for their soundtrack. A lot of musicians got awards based on these movies. Like Curtis Mayfield. Curtis Mayfield basically did the whole thing for Superfly. And the music that they played, and throughout the movie, you heard that song all the time back in the late 70s and 80s. Whether I'm your pusher, you know what I'm saying? That was the song back then. It was just like that. Curtis Mayfield took over that whole movie. He did that whole soundtrack.
Yeah. Charles Kissinger, Charlie Brodus. Who are these names, man? Edward Reese, William Foster Jr., Leroy Clark. And look, and I just want y'all to understand, if you're gonna watch these 70 movies, understand that the intros are gonna be about at least 3 to 10 minutes. Okay. We ain't we ain't even. Hold on. We are 7 minutes in, and they're just doing the intro run. And this song is probably 6-7 minutes long, and they're gonna show her walking. Why? Because we can. Because she's fine as hell, and we want you to fall in love with her.
The beginning, the intro, and the end always be long. Whether it's the credits and all that, it's like a long ending.
Super long ending. Look at this. Ain't no crazy lighting going on here. Look, there's no over the top. She ain't wearing no Gucci. They ain't wearing no Versace. These are just regular. This is regular people, regular outfits.
Why didn't you try to reach me about this?
Why didn't I try to reach you? Why haven't I tried to find a needle in a haystack? How in the hell do I know where you hang out at?
Why don't you try looking once in a while? Getting up off of that fat fanny of yours and going out into the world. Maybe try a little working.
Oh boy. She really got him, didn't she?
Well, is it important?
What do you think? We'll take care of the place, partner. I'll be in Louisville if you need me.
Louisville?
She ain't no joke. He wasn't. You saw the gun on the side, right? She ain't playing.
She's packing.
Packing.
She's packing heat. Oh my God! Was there anything else you want to throw in about 70's Blaxploitations? There were any other films you want to get into?
No, but I did want to talk about the comparison with the old Superfly with the new Superfly, and I think that's kind of the way to get young people involved, because if they mostly all the young ones watch the newer version, and then you tell them, okay, let's go back and watch the original. Let's see how that looks. You know what I'm saying? Because they've already seen the most recent one. You know what I'm saying?
Well, some have. That movie didn't do as well in theaters as I thought it was going to do. Actually, no, I ain't going to lie. I didn't think that movie was going to do anything at all, because I just know how the younger generation is. Even, you know what I mean? When I saw the trailer, I was excited. And we're going to get into that in a minute. I'm going to play the trailer. I didn't think it was going to do well. I honestly didn't think the movie was going to be good, but I definitely watched it. And it came out during the pandemic, and I bought that thing the moment it came out on streaming, and I had such a good time with it, and we'll talk more about it. But like, yeah, this Superfly joint, man, let's get into that. I want to get into the original Superfly, and then we're going to talk about it. Let's rock.
This dude is bad. And he ain't just.
This dude is bad.
Fly. He's super fly.
He's super fly.
Superfly. When it comes to women, they come to him. But it's still not enough. He wants a big score. $1 million in cash. Yeah. The big one.
This chance, and I want to take it now. Before I have to kill somebody. Before somebody ices me.
What kind of money are we talking about?
Not much. Now that I took all this chance for nothing, and I go back to being nothing. Some job, chump change day after day, because that's all I'm supposed to do, then they're going to have to kill me because that ain't enough.
I would like to add real quick, I'm sorry. Yo, Blaxploitations, these niggas monologue. You understand me? They used to give some speeches. Like, they would go on for like 10 minutes. You know, I'm not going to be held down by the man. We going to lift each other up by the, and then we going to da-da-da-da-da-da. Yo, they used to give Farrakhan level speeches about
that was the whole premise of the movie. He was trying to stick it back to the man.
Stick it to the man. Okay, all right. That trailer goes on for another minute. Like, oh my God. So, you can see if you're watching this and you haven't tuned out that filmmaking has come a long way. You know what I mean? And I'm not even dogging them out, but that trailer made zero sense. Like, there was just, I think what they was like, oh, this is a dope scene, let's put that in there. Oh, this is dope, let's put that in there. Okay, well, he said something slick, let's put that in there, and let's give him something to the, you know, I just feel like it was really it was more like a Negro buffet of like clips to get people interested in coming. And I feel like that's before the time period when they started figuring out that trailers should do certain things, you know what I'm saying, besides just pique your interest. There's a story to be relayed. There's a framework for how trailers should be done, and they hadn't figured it out yet. But shout out to them for that. So the film's runtime, oh Lord. Superfly, how long is the, give me your initial impressions, and I'm gonna look up the runtime for this film. What were your initial impressions the first time? I ain't talking about when you've seen it recently, but when you were a kid or when you were a young adult and you first watched this film, you know, what were you thinking before you press play?
What was I thinking? I didn't know what to expect, to be honest with you. I was a sheltered child. So a lot of times I didn't get to watch these kind of movies until I was an adult. So because how risque, you know, the movies were, I wasn't allowed to watch them. You know, it might have been certain ones like, you know, that didn't have as many sex scenes. But when it came to like Superfly and things like that, I didn't watch it until I was an adult. So I didn't know what to expect when I first saw them, and I didn't know that they were gonna be that juicy. I didn't know.
God, you're so crazy.
And I think that's what piqued my interest because of the uncensorship that it didn't have back there in the 70s. You know what I'm saying? Because it seemed like maybe towards the 80s is when they start being more careful. That's when all these regulatory things started happening towards the 80s, when you start having PG-13 versus R and X. You know, we didn't even have, growing up, we didn't have no PG-13 movies. That didn't happen until the 80s. You know what I'm saying? So once the censorship became into effect, you know, that gave it a whole different label, you know. So I just say I didn't realize that the 70s had so much uncensorship where they can do as much as they were doing.
My first time watching Superfly was probably 2004, 2003. You know, I'm living in Baltimore. I came back from Atlanta, and I was in my collecting stage. Money was doing what, you know, was coming in, and I could really kind of spend money on stuff that, you know, may not have been as necessary. So like definitely me stockpiling films was one of the things. And I remember like one night, you know, I give me a bottle, I get some popcorn and some food, and I'm like, yo, I'm about to sit down and really watch this and get into it. And oh my God, like the characters are so strong. The main character is very stoic. Very, he's not verbally aggressive. He has a humbleness about him, but that doesn't mean he's not confident. You know, he's very meticulous, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have a tendency to be sloppy every now and then. Like, he is a very, like, I'm not exactly sure. All right, so the film was released in 1972. The star actor is Ron O'Neal, and he plays Youngblood Priest. The reason why I'm talking the way I'm talking is he approached Priest, in my opinion, as a stage actor. Like, you know what I'm saying? He was not your stereotypical street guy in the hood. You know, he was quieter. He was only forceful or aggressive when, you know, people were getting out of line or he was trying to make a point. You know, he was very careful about his usage of force. He was, you know, there was a point where he was frustrated, where he wanted to move on with his life, and he had a plan, and then he had a partner and all these things. Like, this was a very well done out story. It gets cartoonish towards the middle for me. But as a person going in with no kind of, like, I knew nothing. Like, I didn't know there was nudity. I didn't know nothing. The only thing I knew is that people love Superfly and that rappers was like, this is the joint. So when I sit down and watch it, and I didn't even know that, oh man, he's trying to get out the hood and get $1 million. I'm just watching it from a raw perspective. Right. And I loved it, man. I ain't gonna lie, it runs a little long. Some scenes I definitely was like, we didn't need it all, but I loved how it was done. It wasn't, to me, it wasn't the height of artistic expression. I feel like if we were to compare classic Blaxploitation, in my opinion, the best creation from an artistic standpoint is the Mac. I feel like the dopest kind of like commercially viable vibe would be Superfly, because the Mac is a psychological story about a man losing himself in the journey to freedom. Whereas Superfly is just a man trying to escape the system, but I don't know. I feel like the story gets truncated in certain places, but it's still great. You know, you got hot cars, you got hot women, you got nudity, you've got, you know, pubic hairs, you've got drugs, you've got this dope basement club. It's a basement club, like a basement club with like the band is right here. You can literally touch their clothes. They so close to the stage. You know, you got a guy in the back cooking fried chicken and fish. I mean, like you.
But really that's how it was back then. You know what I'm saying? You gotta understand that's how that era really was. It was like that's how they got together. That's how they did things. You know what I'm saying? And like when it started, when the movie started, it showed like I don't know whether they were on drugs or they were homeless or what they were, but they were on the streets of Harlem asking for money. And it was like it wasn't just regular, it was regular people walking down the street. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like they had a whole bunch of freelance artists or somebody trying to get paid, you know, to be walking down the street. I'm looking at the street and I can literally picture what's on that street. Like I remember the stores that they were walking past. You know what I'm saying? It was real. It was not staged. You know what I'm saying? You had actual people doing stuff. And then when you look at, yeah, he wanted to get $1 million so he didn't have to live this life anymore. He wanted to be able to finally be at a stage to where he didn't have to struggle no more. And that was the plight of most Black people at that time. They just want to get to a point where they don't have to struggle no more. They're living in Harlem. They see all the drugs. They see everything popping off. And even though Harlem was a place where it was rich because a lot of Black people lived there, it was like their own community, but you still had a sense of you wanted to be successful. And that was the whole gist of the whole thing. He was walking around looking like success, but he wanted to actually be at that level. He wanted to be at the point to where he don't have to ask nobody for nothing. And he had been, you know, an errand boy. He had went through so many different levels that he was like, okay, now I'm at this age. I just want to get this money and get out.
I love
done living this kind of life. I'm tired of answering to people, being somebody's errand boy, being this, being that. I just want to be to the point to where I can live the way I want to live, and ain't nobody looking at me crazy, you know. And then he also had to deal with, there was still that racism within our own self. You know what I'm saying? We have that that racial, you know, light skin versus dark skin type thing, you know. And then he got to the point to where he would fight. First time somebody say he looked like a white looking somebody, he ready to fight. You know, it was like, you got to fight with your own and you got to fight with the man. And it was just, you know, those were his different struggles that he had to deal with. And he just wanted to get to a point to where he didn't have to worry about that no more, you know. And the man, so to speak, was letting him know, I done got you in this game, you ain't leaving. You know, it was undercover police officers that's basically running him. Okay.
Oh, speaking of, okay, let's get to it. Let's get to the newer one. You know what I mean? What was that? What year did it come out? 2018. What was it? Superfly 2018. I purchased this film. I had to. I can't. I would be remiss if I say I enjoy Black film and didn't purchase this film and add it into my collection. Let's get into a few seconds of this. Let's see what we got going on here. That's how you do a trailer. Let me give some hand claps for that one. Oh boy, there's so many improvements throughout the years. Solid trailers with clear intention and understanding. What were your initial impressions before you watched the film and you saw the trailer for this? What were you thinking?
Well, I didn't see how it was initially matching up. Like the storyline was, to me, was a tad bit different. That was my initial.
I don't feel like they wanted to remake the film exactly. I think that this was more like inspired.
Well, that was my initial. You know what I'm saying? I was expecting to see the same thing, just with newer people. You know what I'm saying? That's what I was looking for, the same type of storyline. You know, not necessarily, you know, everything exact, but just looking for that same type of storyline.
Yeah. When I saw this trailer, and there were three main elements that gave me my initial impression. Number one was the director, whom that was his first feature film, and he generally before that only did music videos. Uninspired music videos. If you really took my opinion, in which you don't have to listen to me. The actors were not A-listers. You know, I felt like the lead wasn't somebody meant to be a lead. You know what I mean? So when I saw him, and I'm like, oh, all right, this is a BET, you know, little BET story, and they done found this little pretty boy to come, and all right, this is Chris Brown's little cousin or something, and he doing whatever. Like I wasn't excited. I mean, but at the same time, I was like, all right, cool. And then I started seeing all of the usage of color was like okay, this is different. You know what I mean? Because I'll give y'all a secret. If you see black films and you don't see any artistic elements like, you know, great usage of color, great usage of scenery, like, you know, good dialogue, then you know that movie's gonna be trash.
Right.
So the only upshot that I saw out of that was like, man, like it just looks like this used like the bad guys are in all white, like, you know what I mean? There was some very intentional color usages outside of the norm, because normally in a film all of the bad guys wear black, like, you know what I mean? And it was kind of like it was like they flipped everything on its head, and I was like, oh, that's cool and creative, and it's interesting. Like they played on all of the worst black stereotypes. You know, the guys, all of the bad guys got tattoos all over their faces. I mean, they got tattoos everywhere. It's, you know what I mean? It's just super over the top. And I laughed at, you know, like, if you live in Atlanta, there's an underworld. And I was like, for real? I lived there. There's an underworld underneath of Atlanta. And I was like, yeah, all right, whatever. Which I heard, there really was. I guess that underworld developed after I moved out of the city, and, you know, whatever. So,
that's just a scene we wasn't a part of. We weren't part of that life.
We was too busy eating chicken wings.
Right.
We won where, there's a seedy underworld. Where's that? All right, I'll be over here. So
when I looked at those two things back then, back in the 70s, Harlem was considered Black Mecca. And now people consider Atlanta to be the Black Mecca.
I respect that. Yeah. I kind of put two and two together. So what were your highs and lows for the Superfly remake?
My highs was it was, to me, I didn't think the movie was that bad. I liked the movie. You know, I watched it a couple times. He had a little bit more balls than what I thought he was gonna have. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you look at him in other scenes, you know, other movies that he's been in. Right. He's always been that prissy little college dude, you know, or you know, you just never saw him on a rough role, trying to be rough or trying to have that kind of scene. So to see him in this light, you know, that was different, and I appreciated it, you know, to see his acting skills in a different type of way. My lows, I mean, you had some whack scenes. You did have some corny scenes. It was, and some that just didn't need to be there. You know, um, but overall, I would have gave it like a 7 or 8. You know, it's something that can be watched. It's you won't be mad that you watched your time watching it. You know, that's I didn't feel as though I was mad that I watched the movie. It was okay. It was okay.
I went into it not expecting it to be good. It blew. The only thing I can say, it blew me away. Like when I watched that film, I vividly remember saying multiple times, "Damn, that's good." Like, damn, okay, you doing that? Damn, okay, like, you know what I mean? And even and I agree, there are some whack. There's some scenes where I'm just like,
Right. Why is that there? Right.
what are we doing? But at the same time, it's like, oh, all right, well, you know, they got guns and they spent some money on the scene, so it's all good. It's like even the worst scenes, it's like, oh, they spent some money. Oh, they flipped the Lamborghini 6 times. Oh my God, that was so great. But it was useless. We didn't need that. There's so many scenes where we didn't need any of it.
Right.
But it was either gratuitous violence, gratuitous action driving scene, gratuitous, you know, this nigga is a Kimbo Slice karate master. You know what I mean? A lot of this stuff that kind of came off a little corny, but in the context of what this guy is trying to accomplish in the film, I've never seen that before. I've never seen the indie Blaxploitation film with a budget. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he had a budget. Like, and they spent the budget. It wasn't like, all right, we all gonna pocket this bread and, you know what I mean, we gonna make this is
you can see it in the movie that they spent it. Yeah.
This is this is almost in the neighborhood. Let's just say, I'm not going to say in the neighborhood of a 007 level film. It's in the neighborhood. They ain't on the block. They ain't not next to each other, but they in the neighborhood where this young guy, physically fit, very smart, tech conscious, has 2. Ooh, he's polygamous. Ooh, risky. Oh,
he can afford it. Remember that.
Oh, yeah, a whole lot of stuff. He wasn't trying to get $1 million. He was way past $1 million. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, so he's culturally forward. He's mentally forward. He's in this, you know, a well-established Negro. So, like, in a world where the world doesn't understand him, and you know, he's just he wants to evolve out of this space. You know, he's so far mentally ahead of these troglodytes, these you know, hood people. I shouldn't be here with these. I am better. Yeah, these peasants. Yeah, right. Who are also multi-millionaire, gun-toting, crazy fools. You know what I'm saying? Like,
was that 21 Savage?
No, that was definitely not 21 Savage. 21 Savage is not in the film. No.
I thought the guy with the tattoo on the face was 21.
Which one with the tattoo? There's a bunch of dudes with tattoos.
The main one that was causing all the drama.
The main one that was getting his butt whooped on. Yeah, I got you. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. No, that's not 21. That's not 21 at all. But I'm the highs. Very, 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 very great character development. I love the bad guys, whether they were the low level bad guys or the high level. Let me tell you something. I have a love. My heart skips a beat anytime I see a Mexican cartel guy walk onto a screen. I'm just like, oh, it's about to be lit. I love Mexican cartels. I'm sorry. When you talk about food, TV, and films, and you get a guy with a Spanish accent who's just leaning into it, you know, that calm, serious, you know, I will kill you. I will. Right. And serve her with pancakes.
So when he was on that plane and he jacked him up and yanked his head, you was all up in there, huh?
That boy can kill him. Slice him up, send him back to his family in pieces. Oh my God. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, I got into it. I was like, oh, this is dope. But then even the street level dude with the guy with the white, you know, outfits or whatever, the Big Bank, technically his stage name is Big Bank or whatever. He's on the Big Facts podcast. He's the guy that smokes all the weed. But he was in the film. He was super cool. Like, honestly, he reminded me of the OGs because the young dudes was like, yo, I want to get at him, and da. He was like, hey, like, y'all tripping, bro. Chill back. And they was just all high pressed. I love that he represented that older generation that kind of like, yo, you can't be pressed. You can't be super pressed every time you see a nigga getting money. Like, why you like, you should be getting money. You should be focused on being that nigga, not trying to take that nigga down. Like, you know what I mean? I love to see those small elements brought me in. Obviously the expensive car chases, the opulence of it all, the great usage of. They made Atlanta look like a place I had never seen. Maybe because
everybody want to move to Atlanta because they looking at these movies and these shows.
And Atlanta look crazy. I was like, this looks so beautiful. Where those two girls come from? Can I get those two?
Right.
The downside is the lead doesn't sell it all of the way sometimes. Sometimes I don't feel like he really. Did you really have two girlfriends? Is this your thing for real? Like, are you this? Because like, even when he's trying to be like aggressive and gangster, it just doesn't, it doesn't, I don't feel like, was there a moment when he did something you went, clutch my pearls? It was, I never had that moment. It was just kind of like, oh, no, pretty boy, look at you trying to be gangster. Go ahead, boy. Oh, you doing karate now? What you like? You know what I mean? I was like, what? What he's talking about? Like, he didn't really sell. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't pulling off the Denzel like vibe. Like,
it wasn't natural.
Nah, it wasn't natural. He was trying, and it wasn't scaring me, but he was trying. You know what I'm saying? Like the Spanish dude, the cartel guy, I bought that.
That was it.
Yeah, freaking see the hell out of a nigga, but like that, the lead, I don't know. And then like his homeboy, I was scared of him more because he was just scene one. Him coming on screen, I'm like, oh, he about to get everybody killed. This dude right here, oh, he about to get us all killed. He's, you know what I mean? And that's where you need people like him to keep your anxiety up through the movie because you like, oh, he gonna double cross you and your mama and your cousin, and he about to do everything wrong. Ooh, I can see that off top because he's stupid. No, Cole, you stupid. But all in all, like you said, I enjoyed the film. Super surprised walking away. Very proud as an older black man. I was like, yo, this new generation, they're doing something, and they took it to a different level. You know, I think that they really fought to keep the essence of what the original film was.
Right.
In the film. You know what I mean? Even though I feel like I feel like trying to translate the plight into 2020, 2020 with a whole bunch of Lamborghinis is not the same. You know, I don't feel like they understood. Like, Priest might have had a nice car and he might have had an apartment, but he ain't had millions and millions of dollars. Like, you know what I mean? Like, y'all literally could have just flown away, disappeared, and y'all would have been cool. But, you know, a couple of mistakes happened. You lost some bread. Now you got to go and do something else. Like, but it was cool. It was a good movie overall. In comparing the two films, I feel like the first film did a better job of relaying the emotional struggle of a black man in a world set against him. Right. I don't feel like the newer film did that. Felt like the newer film showed us a pretty black kid making a whole bunch of freaking money playing bad guy, and now the reality of the life that he lived is coming after him. I think two different things going on.
That's what I was saying. It was two different plots going on. The whole storyline was different. Right.
You could have cut off one of these girls and could have lived a way better life. You know what I'm saying? You would have had way more money to play with. You know what I'm saying? But outside of that, I also feel like it shows the differences in how we create in this generation, like what we deem to be important. You know, because there are so many elements on the screen of the newer film that it's like, did we need to see all of this? And I even had to ask myself as the viewer that was impressed, like, could they have done this without all of the opulence, and would I have bought into it as much without the Lamborghinis and the big, you know, the big mansions and the 25,000 girls and the naked, you know, and the threesome? Like,
But I think that's the selling point nowadays. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't for you
though. Like, I mean, would I have enjoyed the film without those elements? I don't think I would have. You know what I'm saying? Right. And maybe it's because I felt like the storyline was thinner, and these elements made up for it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, the question
I'm needed.
Like, if we were to get rid of all of this opulence and the two girlfriends and all of this, like, what would you write to make me be as engaged as I was on the first film?
You wouldn't be.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. That's a question I was asking myself. And but at the end of the day, you know, we can't remake the past. The film is out there. I enjoy both of them. I think that it was a wonderful homage. Excuse me. And
Does it pass your bedtime?
Of course. Are there any other films? Oh, you thought I was gonna say no? I can't wait to go to sleep. Are there any other films you feel like were created in this modern day time period that you could say is a Blaxploitation? I'm not saying like it was intended to be a Blaxploitation, but because of how it was made, you feel like, yo, this has more of a Blaxploitation vibe to it, you know, and even though it's modern.
I might think about that. Let me see. I don't see the same type of elements in our movies now that was in Blaxploitations.
Blaxploitations. Okay. Well, let me see
the same elements.
I definitely agree with you. I disagree.
Do you
with
have
you.
one in particular?
I am going to show you one, but this film that I'm going to put on the screen now, I have to put this up here, or else true black cinephiles are going to lynch me. So I got to play a clip from the almighty Black Dynamite, which is definitely a Blaxploitation for the purpose of
I totally forgot about that. Yes. Yes, that's it.
They made up different actor names for every actor at the end. That is not none of their names.
But when I tell you that was the funniest movie, I was cracking up. When he said, but Black Dynamite, I sell drugs in the community. That was it for me. I hollered when he said that. Oh my goodness. And then there was another part where the guy slapped him in the face. And he turned around, he said, you hit me in the face? And he just went off. And that anaconda, you don't want none of that anaconda.
You do not want none of that anaconda right there, boy. All right. Now that we got the laugh out of our system, let's move on to more depressing subjects for us to look at. You asked me a question. Do I feel like? Well, actually, I asked you the question and you sent it back to me. So you said you couldn't think of any films that Black people have created that will be exploitative of our community. Well, look no further than, in my opinion, look no further than hip hop. So it is in modern times set up where these films have lots of guns, lots of sex, a lot of stuff going on in these films. Mostly a bunch of drug dealers doing a bunch of crazy stuff. Let me see if this is the right here.
Jealous, envy, and hate turn family against each other.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, there they go.
So this is called Choices. This is a film that was independently shot, edited, and released by them boys. Obviously, this is shot, released by what's his name? The 3 6 Mafia. and Choices. Please look it up. It's actually on YouTube. The whole joint is up there. That's one Blaxploitation film. The next joint, I feel like people don't remember this one. I do. I remember one of my favorite hood films that made no sense. The film was super crazy, and this is Killer Season. Rappers, jewelry, drugs, sex, murder, and the list goes on and on of all of the insane things that they did. Blaxploitation films, in my opinion. They just taking street dudes and they all got the same story. They want to get out the hood. They want to get away and do something different, but the streets keep calling. People keep coming at them. Those were my picks for what I feel. So what do you think? I'm not exactly sure if you've seen any of these films, but what do you think?
I haven't. No, I haven't. So I couldn't even give you an opinion on either one of them. But I don't know. Is it because they're independent films, or is it based on the storyline itself?
I feel like based on the storyline, the over the top outfits, because you got to remember what they were wearing was 70s stuff. They were, wearing what was defined as high-end fashion of that time. But if you watch Killer Season and Choices, these are films shot by crazy rich hip-hop artists. They're wearing high-end clothes. They're wearing millions of dollars worth of jewelry. They are in these urban scenarios, playing dice or owning clubs or, and they're constantly getting into scenarios where they might get hit by a woman or, these gratuitous sex scenes with nudity is everywhere. It's like they have this idea of a movie and none of these guys. And once again, a lot of this stuff is running gun, meaning that somebody's with a camera. There's no script. A lot of times there's no script. They're freestyling. Meaning that they'll be like, yeah, in this scene, we trying to get this guy to go here. So y'all, what would you say? And then they was action. All right, well, you da 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 da, and then they'll fake an argument, and then the scene will be over, and they'll go somewhere else. Like there's so much of that. In addition to just over the top antics, car chases, with expensive $500,000 cars. The difference is that these guys are shooting running gun, but they've got millions of dollars at their disposal. Whereas the difference is Petey Green and all these other Petey Green. Oh my God! So when you talk about Dolomite or whatever, they didn't have as much of a budget, but and they were made for independent films. So like Choices and Killer Season, they weren't made to be put on the big screen. They were made to be put straight to DVD. So like at the time, DVD was the hot thing. So it was like when 3 6 Mafia did their Choices movie, they just did a soundtrack and they sold it as a double disc. So it was like one disc was the movie and the other disc was the soundtrack. And then they distributed through the record label and they charged people $20 and they made us crap load of money. They did the same thing with Killer Season. They put the DVD out, then they put the soundtrack out at the same time, sold 1 million copies, So I feel like they're exploiting Black culture, over the top characters. A lot of the same storyline stuff as you saw in these other films from the 70s. And then that independent Chitlin circuit distribution. So like, that's why I was saying that these will be considered like modern day Blaxploitation.
Okay. I had to look at those movies because I never even heard of them. I mean, that one with Jules Santana and Cameron. I remember they made a movie, but I never saw it. So,
Yep.
Yeah, I had to check that out.
They're both on YouTube, the full films, so you ain't got to go buy nothing. You just go click on them and watch them. I'll send them to you. And that's just my. I was just kind of throwing it out there, trying to link the old school vibes with the new school vibes.
Absolutely. That's
you know what I mean? All right. So did we cover everything? Was there anything else you might have wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to kind of get into?
No, I think you did pretty good.
Appreciate it. Oh, I forgot. Master P Come on now. I got the hookup. You know what I'm saying? Oh, come on. These are classic Blaxploitation. All right. You know what?
And he was on a roll for a minute. He was doing
right.
A
I
lot
got
of
the hookup was a great the first I Got the Hookup was a great film. But Bout It, and Hot Boys, and come on, you know what I'm saying? The Game Is to Be Sold, Not Told with Snoop Dogg. Come on, yo. Come on. So I'm sorry. I'm shutting up. But yeah, those are the time period joints, them pieces where like, man, I really wish, like, honestly, I hope somebody does establish a streaming platform and puts all of those films behind that paywall. You know, let's put choices up there and all of the Master P films and all. I think that'll be dope. Yeah. You know what I mean? That would be a great play, like to kind of put all of the 70s Blaxploitation, you know, like 80s films, 90s films with the new stuff. These are black films owned by black creators. I think that would be so hot.
That would be dope. Yeah, that would.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if we have missed any films or anything you want us to talk about, please drop a comment in the comment section. Please shoot us messages on our social media at Queen Euphoria or at JS1 Tha Supplier. You know, let us know. We would love to hear back from y'all. Queen, thank you once again. I appreciate you making time for this phenomenalness. It was a great show. Thank you for sending me down the rabbit hole. I swear to God, I learned so much this week. I was like, Jesus. So I can't wait to get into some more stuff. I think you mentioned something earlier today, like while we was on the show. I can't remember, like something that we should do a show about. But I think we'll chop it up.
Okay.
And we'll figure out something dope for next week. You know what I'm saying? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We're going to check y'all next time on, you know what I'm saying, the Real Review. Real Reviews right here on VVC Life Magazine. Holla at y'all next week. Peace.